Hey guys, so just an update. I just threw in an Aeromotive 340 liter per hour pump in the car. This would be the 5th fuel pump I've put in that car. I bought a Walbro 255 used, that died on me. Then I bought 2 more on Amazon, both from different sellers, and they both died. One was dead on arrival, the other one was sporadic and then died a week later. Still, I was getting that breaking up issue when I was driving, so I attributed that to being the fuel pump. I mean, I think both of the ones I bought on Amazon were knockoffs anyway, so I decided to just, bite the bullet. Bought an Aeromotive pump through a reputable site, and it's in the car now. Car's idling great. It's been idling for a while, and I haven't had any weird issues with the pump. But I did take it for a quick spin and it's still breaking up really bad under load. So I'm pretty sure that's not a fuel pump issue. It could be clogged injectors or something, maybe something with the plugs. So I might have to tackle that. But until then, this thing's not gonna drive. I really want to just let this thing out. I want to take it on the road and just see what it has. But it won't go over like 2,000 RPM or very, very low throttle. It just kind of bucks. So until then, I'm gonna have to play around with some stuff. But stay tuned. It has a decent sounding idle. But if I give it a little throttle, it even breaks up at idle. Slightly higher RPM though, but it's when it gets under a little bit of load, it misses or breaks up, one or the other or both. Not really sure, but I think I'm close. That being said though, last Club Loose North event is tomorrow. Oh, unfortunately, I'm not gonna make it, but that does mean that I won't have to half-ass anything. And by next spring, I'll be able to get everything done on this car that I really, really want to have done before I drift it. Although you don't get to see me drift this thing this season, there'll be a lot of things going on this winter. So today we're gonna try to work on the car in the garage, and you can really see we're kinda tight for space in here, but it should work. It's pretty close. But there's enough room to get around. I'm gonna try installing the Dakota Digital tachometer adapter, and we'll see if we can get that working. So if you guys remember a while back, when I wired the temp gauge to the temp sensor to the gauge over here, I also wired the oil pressure. I didn't know at the time, but the oil pressure signal that's in the wiring specialties harness is just the 1J sender, which is basically a warning light. So it doesn't actually give you an output pressure, which was why it was just maxing out. I considered going with the other Toyota sender, which is actually variable. What I'm actually going to do instead is when I get some nice gauges, I'm just going to go with a oil pressure temperature gauge. And I'm going to take the wires that I was running to that oil pressure gauge, and I'm going to use that for the tach signal because they're already there and I don't have to run any more wires. So I'll start by wiring that in at the gauge, and then I can mess with the wiring over by the output on the passenger footwell. So before, when I wired this yellow-red wire to this yellow wire, I ran that to the oil pressure signal that came out of the wiring specialties leads here. That was just an oil warning light, so I'm definitely not going to use it for that. But what I will do is remove this and use this yellow wire for the tach, and then I'll rewire the yellow over there to go to the tach adapter. This yellow light blue wire is the tach signal to the gauge cluster. So I have the tach wire connected to the gauge cluster. Now I'm just going to temporarily put the gauge cluster back in so that when I get the adapter set up, I can give it a shot before I fully wrap this all up and make sure it all works. So once you have this all plugged in and the engine's running, you should get a blinking light here. And then what you do is you click through the menus using these buttons, and then you select the number of cylinders going in. It says in on here, and then you select 1 through 16, and then it says out. And what you do is when it says out, you watch your tachometer and you up the number of cylinders until the needle is around 2,000 RPM. That will tell you what number of cylinders your gauge is looking for. Or, I mean, if you know that, you can just type it in, obviously. And then when the engine's running, you fine-tune this number, which I got to 1.35 with mine. And that's kind of a multiplier, and that'll get your needle right on the nose. Yeah, a second ago when Ted and I was trying to see how accurate that multiplier was, we were just kind of hitting the limiter a couple times because we know where the limiter is in the 1J. But it's 9 o'clock at night, and I don't want to be banging rev limiter in a quiet suburban neighborhood. So that was a cool job that was actually successful the first time for once. So I got this all buttoned up again. Tack works, finally. Now next is just to clean all this up, but I'll probably give it a little bit more time because I'll probably end up having to get to some of these at some point. One of the things that was good about not being able to drift this season is I'll actually be able to do some gauges, which I want to do a cool molded pod here, 3 gauges, and I'll probably need to get to some of these at some point. Another thing I want to do this winter is put a full switch panel here with cutouts for the vents here. I'll probably put a small amp behind here so I can still listen to music without having a head unit. And I'd also like to eliminate this HVAC thing because this is junk, it's broken, and the only thing that works anyway is the fan speed. So I'd like to maybe get like a fan speed knob and have switches for the cooling fan and whatever else I might need. But I think that might be a pretty good project to do this winter. And then along that line, once that's all tidied up, then I can finally go around and tidy up all these wires. But for now, it'll stay a mess. Moving on. I can always just start recording and then just figure it out later. So it's been a while since I've tried figuring out what was going on with the car because it's been so freaking cold outside, but today for the first time in like weeks, I think it was, it's actually genuinely nice outside. So Josh is over and we were just playing around with some of the sensors in the motor, trying to figure out what we could diagnose as to why it was cutting out. Josh mentioned that it might be the O2 sensor, so I unplugged the O2 sensor and we took it for a drive, and I think we're getting close. I think that actually might be the issue. I'll put the clip in right now. That actually has some balls. It's breaking up, but... There actually is something there now. I think that's it. So I'm gonna try to order a new O2 sensor, and I'm actually thinking that might be the issue because it actually genuinely drove decent. It broke up way up top, but that actually might just be because I actually don't know what that might be. I have no idea. But it could just be because there was no O2 sensor plugged in. Oh yeah, it switches to closed loop or open loop. It switches to closed loop. Oh, I'm doing it backwards. Which would normally that would be doing until you get under wide open throttle. No, so it might be switching over or something, but normal driving under a certain load, I mean, you can see in the clip, but under a certain load, it did really well. And it didn't break up, and I'm really excited because it actually might be something simple. But I'm beyond excited that we finally might actually be making some progress on figuring out why this won't run, and then the quicker it can run, the quicker I can start working on other things, getting it ready for the spring, and all that shit. But until then, I don't know what I was saying. Please hit the like button if you like this video. If you want to keep following along, please do subscribe. Yes. And you know, I've never said this, but drop a comment on what you want to see for this, because I know there's a lot of people that have been asking me questions about this build in particular. If there's anything you want me to point out in a video, maybe I'll kind of lump a bunch of stuff together and I'll make a little video on answering some little pretty specific questions about the build itself. But yeah, let me know what you want to see in some of these videos. And a little teaser. So Mr. Ted bought this RB25 thing that should be a JZ, but it's not. Because he's not here, I can say that. Josh, you're an RB fan. Do you know anything about this motor? Because I don't. It's a 25, right?
Neo.
It's a Neo. That means something. It means it's better than a regular one, right?
Yes.
Anyway, Ted's gonna be putting this in his Z31, and I think me and him are actually gonna start another series on this channel following that project. So that, because I'm sure there's some people out there that would actually give a shit about that project too. Yeah, Josh has an old ass Datsun. That's cool too.
About 20 years from being complete.
It's about a minimum of 20 years from being complete. But yeah, so I'll document that a little bit, and I think that'll be really cool to see. And so that'll be coming as well. But stay tuned. I will catch you guys later. Bye.